Thank you very much. I'm sorry I'm a little late. My wife and I, who's in the beautiful wife Lourdes, who's here with me, we just got off a plane from congressional delegation that went down to Brazil, Colombia, and Panama. And while we have a lot of Cuban Americans in Congress, I think I'm the only one actually born there. Um, I was born in Cuba. I didn't come in here until I was almost 7 years old. And I know firsthand what the communist regime does to young people. The reason I'm here is my father asked me one day. Actually, I asked my father. I said, "Hey, if Russia and the United States ever got into a war, who would win?" And then my father said, "Well, there's good guys and there's bad guys, and you see it on TV and all, and the Americans are the good people, and so America will win." And I said, "No, no, the Russians will win because they're more powerful." So he asked me, where did you hear that? Where did you learn that?" Well, I learned it in school. I was being indoctrinated at 6 years old. And he says, "Oh, you learned that in school? Oh, very good." A month later, we're out of there. And so that's what they do to you. And so I know that firsthand. And so that's why, any kind of indoctrination in school for any political purposes, I'm completely against, because I was on the receiving end of that firsthand. I used to wear a little red and black armband. They used to make you wear that. They used to have a little book where you put stamps of the revolution, all the great things the revolution was doing. And so they indoctrinate you, and they keep on indoctrinating you. There's stories that say, close your eyes, to little kids. They're in a classroom. Close your eyes. Ask God for ice cream. Open your eyes. No ice cream. Close your eyes again. Ask Castro for ice cream. Ice cream. So that's what they do. All right. And so on 11th, this is the anniversary of the 11th of July, and a couple of years ago, the people of Cuba rose up spontaneously throughout the island, and they asked for one thing. They weren't asking for remittances. They weren't asking for vaccines. They weren't asking for the end of the embargo. They were asking for one thing: libertad. Freedom. And frankly, the United States should be the champion of freedom in our hemisphere. We shouldn't tolerate communism or any type of dictatorship here in our hemisphere. And hopefully, we get to the point one day that we will be the champion of freedom, and that the people of America will look to people of the Americas will look to the United States as the champion of their freedom. Because every day that we don't do that, we are allowing dictatorships, regimes to oppress their people, to oppress their freedom. No freedom of the press, no freedom of religion, no freedom of speech. And we shouldn't tolerate that in our hemisphere. And we need to take more action than we take. We say a lot of words, and hey, we're against it and all that. But you know what? It's been over 60 years. My parents, and I'm sure that Lourdes' parents, my wife's parents, or many of the people here, never thought it takes 60 years, and maybe longer, because we're going on 60-something years now, for this regime to fail. My father thought it was going to be about 6 months, and then I'll be back, because that's what happened in Cuba. You had this thing, a year later, 2 years later, it would fall. You'd have somebody else. Well, this has been going on for over 60 years. And you got to give it to the Cuban regime. It's very resilient. They're smart. And they're really smart at oppressing their people. So I share my colleagues from Orlando's views about communication. And there is technology coming. And I've spoken to companies, not just SpaceX, but other companies that have technology that we can use to allow the Cuban people to communicate with themselves. Because I think that is the key. That's the first key. Allow the Cuban people to communicate with themselves freely so that the Cuban government can't shut it down. And also that the Cuban government can't monitor it. So that the people of Cuba can talk amongst themselves and have more spontaneous demonstrations like we had on July 11th. And more, and eventually lead to the freedom, because it has to come from the inside. We have to help, but it has to come from the inside. And so there is light at the end of this tunnel, and I've seen it. It's not just SpaceX. There's another company based out of Miami, actually, that is run by a Venezuelan who wants the same thing for his country, and for Iran, and for Russia, and for China, so that the people of those countries that are being oppressed can actually speak to themselves and show the rest of the world what's going on in their country. And also we need to pressure our allies, they're allies, but so-called allies, that are allowing through business and allowing business interests to keep these regimes in power. And so you're oppressing the people. Yeah, you're making a dollar or a pound or a franc or whatever, but your actions are leading to the oppression of millions of people. And we need to lead the way. We need to show that. So again, I've had a long career in different places, but there's a reason why I'm here. Not that I'm destined, but there's a reason why I'm here. All right, and the reason why I'm here is to lend another voice to the cause of freedom in our hemisphere. And I would hope that during my time here, I'm able to go back home. I haven't seen my home in 60, I don't want to date myself, 62 years. I haven't seen my home in 62 years. And actually, the older I get, the more I want to see my home. I want to see where I was born. I want to see, the ranch that my dad had. I want to see the school that I went to. Right now, it's a wreck. The place I live, that's also a wreck, by the way, because I've seen pictures of it. But I want to see the land of my birth. Listen, I'm an American, but I have Cuban roots. I was born in Cuba. And so the older I get, the more I want to see where my roots come from. And I also want to be part of rebuilding Cuba. I'm not going to go back to Cuba. My life is here. My children are here. My grandchildren are here. But I still have a love for my country of birth. And I have a love for my people, the Cuban people. They deserve to live in freedom. They deserve to live in freedom because they live in this hemisphere, and that should be our destiny and our right. It should be the rights of all people around the world, but at least in this hemisphere. And so, with that, I'll leave it to that, and know that you will always have a friend, in me and my family, and that we're focused on the cause of freedom for Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, and any other regime that may pop up anywhere around the world. And so thank you. God bless you all.